Your sister-in-law used to say I was just a wife and that the family home would never be mine. The day I had to sell it, she realized who she really was. Just a visitor. It all started when my sister-in-law, Anna, moved into our house after her divorce. From the very first moment, her biting remarks made me feel like an intruder in my own home. "This is the Morales family home," she'd say while rearranging my things without permission. "You're just Miguel's wife." I silently endured her snubs for months. Every morning I'd wake up early to prepare breakfast, and she'd criticize everything. The coffee was too strong, the eggs were overcooked. My husband Miguel would just say, "She's my sister Lucia, be patient," as if that justified her treating me like her servant. The last straw was when I came home from work and found all my family photos packed away in boxes. In their place, Anna had put up portraits of herself with Miguel and their parents. "This living room needed a more familiar touch," she said with that mocking smile I so detested. I swallowed my tears and went up to my room. That night, while reviewing work documents, I found something chilling. The company where I worked as an accountant was in serious crisis. The numbers didn't lie. In less than 3 months, we would have to sell properties to avoid bankruptcy. Among those properties was our house, which belonged to the company. My world collapsed. Not only would I lose my home, but I would have to be the one to manage the sale. Anna had no idea that I held such an important position in the company. To her, I was just the accountant who married her brother. If she only knew that my signature was the one that would determine the fate of her precious family home. I dried my tears and took a deep breath. After so long enduring her humiliations, fate had given me the perfect opportunity to show her who was really just a visitor in this house. The worst part wasn't her attitude towards me, but how she had managed to manipulate the whole family. My mother-in-law, who used to love me like a daughter, now barely spoke to me. At family gatherings, Anna always made sure to sit between Miguel and his mother, leaving me out of the conversations. "Remember when we were little?" she'd constantly say, starting anecdotes I could never be a part of. Miguel had changed too. He was no longer the attentive and loving man I married. Anna had convinced him that I was cold and calculating, that I had only married him for his money. "Don't you think it's strange that an accountant would take an interest in you?" I overheard her say to him once. She probably saw the house and thought it was her opportunity. If she only knew that when I met Miguel, I was already earning 3 times more than him. One afternoon while I was preparing dinner, Anna walked into the kitchen with her typical haughty attitude. "Lucia dear," she said with false sweetness, "I was thinking of remodeling the garden. You know, to give it a more Morales touch." I stared at her while I chopped vegetables, containing the rage that was eating away at me. Little did she know that I held the power to change everything. The following week, I dedicated myself to preparing the ground stealthily. As head of the finance department, I had access to all the information about the company's properties. The house we lived in was one of the most valuable, and I knew exactly how to manage its sale without raising suspicions. During a family dinner, Anna bragged, as always, "This house has belonged to the Morales for generations." She lied blatantly. I had to suppress a smile. The company had bought the property just 8 years ago, and I had all the documents to prove it. Meanwhile, the situation at home became unbearable. Anna had convinced Miguel that we needed family space, so she converted my home office into her sewing room. I found my books and documents piled up in the garage. "Oh, I thought you didn't need them anymore," she said with feigned innocence when I complained. One morning at breakfast, I dropped the first bomb. "The company is going through some changes," I commented casually. Anna didn't even look up from her phone, but Miguel paid attention. "What kind of changes?" he asked worriedly. "Nothing serious," I lied. "Just some restructuring." What no one knew was that I had already started the sales process. I had found the perfect buyer. A couple of entrepreneurs who wanted the house to convert it into a boutique hotel. The contract was practically closed. All that was missing was my final signature. Anna continued with her comments and antics. One night, during another family dinner, she raised her glass and toasted the true Morales, those who make this house a home. My mother-in-law applauded. Miguel smiled uncomfortably, and I just thought about the papers I would sign the next day. The tension at home grew day by day. Anna had started inviting her friends, showing off the house as if it were hers. I overheard them planning renovations, changes in the decor, even talking about building a pool. When Lucia leaves, because at some point she will have to leave, we will make all these changes, she told her friends without bothering to lower her voice. My mother-in-law started visiting us more often, always siding with Anna. This house needs the touch of a true Morales, she'd say while reviewing my decorating decisions with disapproval. They didn't even consult me anymore about household decisions, as if I were a temporary tenant in my own home. One afternoon I found Anna snooping through my personal documents. I was just organizing, she justified herself with that fake smile I so detested. You know, Lucia, you should be more grateful. Not all accountants are lucky enough to marry someone like my brother and live in a house like this. Miguel had become increasingly distant. Anna's poisonous words had taken their toll on him. We no longer shared dinners alone. His sister always had to be present. He had even begun to question my work schedule, influenced by Anna's comments that a good wife should spend more time at home. The sale closed on a Thursday afternoon. When I got home, Anna was rearranging the living room furniture. Again. This is a Morales house, she repeated her favorite phrase. And it always will be. I stared at her and for the first time in months smiled sincerely. About that, Anna, there's something you should know. The words I was about to utter would change everything. I had kept all the sale documents in my briefcase, including the eviction notice they would receive in the coming days. Anna had no idea her world was about to collapse, and I was ready to witness it firsthand. What do I need to know, Lucia? Anna asked with the condescending tone she used with me. Before I could answer, Miguel arrived home from work. Perfect timing. Please sit down, I said, taking the documents out of my briefcase. As I mentioned, the company is going through changes, and there's something you should know about this house. Anna rolled her eyes, but Miguel sat down, concerned by my serious tone. The house has been sold, I announced bluntly. The silence that followed was deafening. Anna was the first to react, letting out a laugh. Sold? What are you talking about? This is the Morales family home. No, Anna. This house belonged to the company where I work. And as chief financial officer, I've had to manage its sale to prevent the company from going bankrupt. I showed them the documents one by one. The original purchase agreement from 8 years ago, the new sales contract, the eviction notice. Anna's face went from red to white in seconds. This is a joke. Miguel, tell me it's a joke. But Miguel was paralyzed, staring at the papers in disbelief. We have 30 days to vacate, I continued calmly. The new owners plan to convert it into a boutique hotel. They've already paid the deposit. You can't do this, Anna shouted, jumping up. This is our family home. Miguel, do something. Actually, I interrupted. It was never your family home. The company bought it as an investment 8 years ago. And yes, I can do this. In fact, it's already done. I pulled out the last document, the official sale notification, signed by me that same afternoon. Anna started to hyperventilate. You knew all this time. While you let me make plans. While you let me talk about renovations. Her voice cracked. Just like you said so many times, Anna, I'm just Miguel's wife. A simple accountant who married your brother. Who would have imagined that this simple accountant would have the power to sell your precious family home? Miguel finally reacted. Lucia, why didn't you tell me anything? His voice sounded hurt, betrayed. Why did you keep it a secret? Why? I looked him directly in the eyes. How many times did I try to talk to you about how I felt in this house? How many times did you ignore how your sister treated me? You chose not to listen to me, Miguel. So I chose to do my job. Anna collapsed on the sofa, tears ruining her perfect makeup. You can't do this to us, Lucia. Where am I going to live? That's an excellent question, Anna. The same one you should have asked yourself before you got divorced and came to live here, treating me as if I were the intruder. My voice was calm, but each word was loaded with years of contained resentment. Miguel ran his hands through his hair, desperate. There must be some way to reverse this. We could buy the house ourselves. With what money, Miguel? I asked softly. The sale price is 5 times your annual salary. Besides, the contract is already signed. At that moment, as if the universe wanted to prove me right, the doorbell rang. It was a courier with the official eviction notice. Anna snatched it from my hands and started reading it, her hands shaking. "This is revenge," she whispered, looking up from the paper. "You did this to get revenge on me." "No, Anna, this is business. The company needed to sell properties to avoid bankruptcy. The fact that this particular house was chosen, well, let's just say karma exists." My mother-in-law arrived an hour later, alerted by Anna's hysterical calls. She came in like a hurricane, demanding explanations. I showed her the same documents. Her face transformed when she saw my signature on them. "You!" she exclaimed incredulously. "The woman I hired to do the accounting for my small business years ago. How dare you betray the family like this?" "Family?" I replied with a calmness I didn't know I possessed. "The same family that has treated me like an intruder for months? The same family that allowed Anna to humiliate me in my own home." The night turned into a chaos of accusations and tears. Anna threatened to sue the company, but the documents were unappealable. My mother-in-law swore she would never forgive me. Miguel locked himself in our bedroom, refusing to talk to anyone. While the drama unfolded, I received a message from the new buyers. They wanted to start the renovations as soon as possible. I replied that there would be no problem. The house would be vacant within the established time frame. Anna and my mother-in-law finally left close to midnight, not without swearing that I would regret this. I went up to my bedroom, where Miguel was still locked in. When I opened the door, I found him sitting on the bed with a half-packed suitcase. "Are you leaving?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "I can't believe you did this without telling me anything," Miguel said, stuffing clothes into the suitcase. "I'm your husband, for God's sake." "And you were my husband these past few months," I replied, sitting on the edge of the bed. "When Anna arrived, you became her brother and stopped being my husband." Miguel stopped and for the first time in months really looked at me. Anna was going through a difficult time. She needed support. And I didn't need support? Do you know how many nights I cried alone in this room while you were consoling your sister? How many times I tried to talk to you about how I felt? And you told me I was exaggerating. "But selling the house," he began, but I interrupted him. "The house was sold because the company needed it. The fact that I enjoyed the process is another story." Miguel slammed his suitcase shut. "I'm going to my mother's house. Anna needs me now." "Of course she does," I replied bitterly. "Anna always needs you, and you always run to her side." Before leaving, he stopped at the door. "You know, Anna was right. You are cold and calculating. I don't know how I didn't see it before." Those words should have hurt me, but they only made me laugh. "Cold and calculating? No, Miguel. I'm just a woman who got tired of being treated like an intruder in her own home." After he left, I sat in the empty living room. The silence was deafening. I looked at the photos Anna had put up, all of the Morales family, none of me. I picked them up one by one and put them in a box. The next day, while I was working in the office, I received a call from an unknown number. It was the Morales family lawyer. They wanted to challenge the sale, claiming that Miguel had rights to the property because he was an employee of the company. "Interesting," I said to the lawyer. "Did Miguel mention that he resigned from the company 3 months ago? I have his resignation letter right here." The silence on the other end of the line was revealing. Not only had I sold the house, but I had all the documents perfectly in order. There was no way to reverse the sale. That night, while I was having dinner alone in the kitchen, I received a message from Anna. "This isn't over. Nobody humiliates the Morales and gets away with it." Her threat didn't scare me. In fact, I almost expected something like this from Anna. The following days were a whirlwind of events. The news of the sale spread through the entire Morales family like wildfire, and soon the reprisals began. First, there were the calls. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with unknown numbers. Distant relatives of Miguel, who had never spoken to me, now called to express their disappointment. I ignored them all. Anna had started a smear campaign against me. She told anyone who would listen that I had manipulated the company's documents, that I had deceived everyone. She even went to the office to make a scene, demanding to speak to my superiors. "Your sister-in-law is at the reception desk," my assistant informed me one morning. "She says she has proof of fraud." "Show her in," I replied calmly. When Anna entered my office, Her expression of triumph vanished when she saw the CEO sitting next to me. "Mrs. Morales," he said. "We were expecting you. Mrs. Lucia warned us that you would come with accusations of fraud. Do you have your evidence at hand?" Anna paled. Her evidence was just speculation and rumors. She left my office humiliated, but not defeated. The Morales' next move was more personal. They began contacting my friends and colleagues, telling them their version of the story. They painted me as a manipulator who had deceived a good man and destroyed his family. Some friends turned their backs on me, believing the lies. Others, the ones that really mattered, stood by me. My best friend, Laura, even reminded me of something I had forgotten. "It wasn't Anna who convinced you not to have children yet. She always said it would ruin your figure." It was true. For years, Anna had sown little seeds of doubt in every aspect of my life. My marriage, my career, my personal decisions. She always had an opinion, always knew what was best for me. Miguel still wasn't talking to me, but I heard from coworkers that he was living with his mother and Anna. Apparently they had turned my mother-in-law's house into a headquarters to plot my destruction. One afternoon, while checking the mail, I found a letter from the company's board of directors. I opened it with trembling hands, fearing that Anna's lies had taken their toll. Instead, I found a congratulatory letter. The sale of the house had saved the company from bankruptcy, and they were offering me a promotion. That night, sitting in my almost empty living room, I allowed myself to smile as I began to pack. The Morales wanted to destroy me, but every move they made only served to prove that I had been right all along. The final blow came when Anna tried her last desperate move. She went to the local media with her story. A small newspaper published an article about the evil executive who left a family on the street. What Anna didn't know was that I had everything documented. Every insult, every humiliation, every attempt at sabotage. I even had recordings of her conversations at home where she bragged about how she was putting me in my place. Time passed, and with each day I felt lighter, freer. The eviction date was approaching, and the Morales had no more legal options. My lawyers had dismantled each of their accusations with impeccable documentation. The company had given me a temporary apartment while I looked for a new place to live. It was smaller than the house, but for the first time in a long time I felt at peace. There were no other people's photos on the walls, no snide comments during breakfast. Miguel finally filed for divorce. The document arrived by certified mail, along with a letter written by him. "You destroyed this family," it said. I kept it along with all the other evidence of their harassment. At work, my promotion came with new responsibilities. I was now the executive director of finance, and my first project was to restructure the company's entire real estate division. The irony did not escape me. One morning, while reviewing proposals for new acquisitions, I received an unexpected call. It was the wife of one of Miguel's cousins. "I need your help," she said softly. "Anna is doing the same thing to me. She moved into my house a week ago, and I didn't need to hear more. I wasn't the only one who had suffered from Anna's pattern of behavior. Other women in the family had also been her victims, but no one had dared to confront her. I organized a meeting with these women. One by one they shared their stories. Anna had done the same thing in other houses, with other sisters-in-law. She would move in, start taking control, and if anyone resisted, she would use the family to pressure them. "How did you do it?" One of them asked me. "How did you find the strength to face her?" "It wasn't strength," I replied. "It was survival." It came to a point where the fear of continuing like this was greater than the fear of confronting her. The eviction date arrived. I stayed away from the house that day, but my assistant kept me informed. The Morales made one last attempt at drama, calling the local press to photograph them as a traditional family being evicted from their home. What they didn't expect was that the new owners were prepared. They arrived with all the documentation proving the legal purchase and showing the complete history of the property. The journalists, instead of the dramatic story Anna had promised them, found something very different. The house never belonged to the Morales, the new owner explained to the press. "We bought it from a company that acquired it 8 years ago as an investment. We have all the..." Anna, who had planned to be the protagonist of a story of injustice, found herself the local laughingstock. The photos that ran in the newspaper were not of a heartbroken family, but of a woman throwing a tantrum while security guards escorted her off the property. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Former friends, distant relatives, everyone wanted to give their opinion. Some apologized. Others simply wanted to be on the winner's side. I ignored them all. My mother-in-law tried one last approach. She sent me a long message talking about forgiveness and the importance of family. Anna is devastated, she wrote. Don't you think she's suffered enough? I replied with a simple photo. It was from 6 months ago when I found all my belongings thrown into the garage. Where was this concern for suffering when I was the one suffering? I added. Miguel contacted me a week after the eviction. He wanted to meet to talk about the divorce. We agreed to meet at a neutral cafe, far from his family's influence. When I saw him come in, I noticed how haggard he looked. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes. Living with Anna and his mother was clearly taking its toll on him. Anna is seeking professional help, was the first thing he said. The psychologist says she has a destructive behavior pattern. I'm happy for her, I replied sincerely. But that doesn't change anything between us. During our divorce meeting, Miguel seemed like a different man. Thinner, tired, without that sparkle in his eyes that I had fallen in love with years ago. I didn't just come to talk about the divorce, he said after a long silence. Anna, she confessed something. He paused, as if the words weighed heavily on him. I found her diaries. She's been doing this for years, Lucia. Not just with you. She's destroyed other marriages in the family. I stared at him without surprise. I know. Your cousins contacted me. His face paled. How many? 5, I replied. 5 women who went through the same thing as me. Anna moved in with them, manipulated them, made them feel insignificant. Some got divorced, others live under her thumb to this day. Miguel covered his face with his hands. All this time defending her, justifying her behavior. God, how could I have been so blind? Because you're her brother and she knows exactly which buttons to push. I replied with a calmness that surprised even me. At that moment, as if summoned, Anna walked into the cafe. She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw us together. Her face contorted. What are you doing here? She hissed, approaching our table. Are you conspiring with her against me, your own sister? The entire cafe fell silent. Miguel stood up, facing his sister for the first time. Enough, Anna. It's enough. Enough. Her laugh was hysterical. She took everything from me. My house. My family. My reputation. No, Anna, I stood up too. You lost it all yourself. With every lie, every manipulation, every life you tried to destroy. Anna lunged at me, but Miguel stopped her. Let go of me, she screamed as people started recording with their phones. She ruined our lives. No, Anna, Miguel's voice was firm. You ruined our lives. And it's over. Over. Anna broke free of Miguel's grip, trembling. What are you talking about? Mom got you a place in a clinic, Miguel replied. You can't go on like this, Anna. You need help. Anna's face transformed. The mask of security and control she always wore completely crumbled. They're committing me? You agree with this? I found your diaries. Miguel sounded exhausted. What you did to Lucia, to our cousins. You've been destroying families for years, Anna. This has to stop. They're exaggerating, she screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I just wanted to protect my family. These women are not worthy of the Morales. And who are you to decide that? I asked softly. Who gave you the right to play with other people's lives? Anna turned to me, but this time there was no fury in her eyes, only desperation. You don't understand. No one understands. I just wanted. What did you want, Anna? Miguel pressed. What were you looking for by destroying so many lives? Control, she finally exploded. I wanted control. Since Dad abandoned us, since I saw Mom destroyed, I swore that no one else would have the power to hurt our family. I had to protect us. The cafe remained silent, hundreds of eyes fixed on our table. Anna collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. The ambulance is on its way, Miguel whispered, showing me his phone. The clinic is waiting. I looked at the broken woman in front of me, the same one who had made my life hell, and I felt a strange mix of emotions. It wasn't satisfaction, not even triumph. It was something closer to pity. The paramedics arrived within minutes. Anna didn't resist when they helped her into the ambulance. She looked small, vulnerable, so different from the woman who had terrorized so many people. "I'll go with you," Miguel offered, but she shook her head. "You've already chosen your side," she murmured before they closed the doors. We stood in silence, watching the ambulance drive away. The cafe's customers began to disperse, putting away their phones, returning to their conversations. "I'm sorry," Miguel said after a long moment. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you, that I didn't defend you. I'm sorry I was so blind." "You were her victim too," I replied. "We all were." In the following days, the truth about Anna spread throughout the family. More women started talking, sharing similar stories. Not just sisters-in-law, but also cousins, friends, even the ex-wife of an uncle. The pattern was always the same. Anna would arrive at a moment of vulnerability, offering help, and little by little, she would begin her manipulation. My mother-in-law sought me out a week later. She had aged years in just a few days. "The doctors say that Anna has a serious disorder," she explained between tears. "She's been without treatment for years. All the signs were there, but we didn't want to see them." The Morales family, who had always prided themselves on their unity and traditions, were facing their own darkness. Years of secrets and manipulations were coming to light. Miguel and I finally finalized our divorce on good terms. The sale of the house turned out to be just the catalyst for something that had been brewing for years. "You know what's saddest?" he said to me during our last meeting with the lawyers. "Anna always said she was protecting the family, but she was the one who finally destroyed it." The clinic where Anna was admitted was a quiet place on the outskirts of town. The first time I visited her, 3 months after the incident at the cafe, I didn't know what to expect. "Why did you come?" she asked when she saw me. Her voice no longer had that edge of superiority. "Because I need to understand," I answered sincerely. "And I think you do too." During that conversation, Anna told me about her childhood, about how her father's abandonment had scarred the whole family. "Mom never recovered," she explained. "I swore I would protect what was left of our family, but along the way, I became something worse than what I feared." The other women in the family also began their healing process. We formed an informal support group. We met once a week to share our experiences and help each other regain our self-esteem. My mother-in-law joined our meetings eventually. "For years I allowed this to happen," she admitted. "I was so traumatized by my own past that I didn't see the damage Anna was causing." The company offered me a transfer to another city, a chance to start over. I thought long and hard before accepting. "You deserve to be happy," Miguel told me in our last conversation. "I'm sorry it couldn't be with me." "Sometimes," I replied, "the end of something is just the beginning of something better." The Morales learned a hard lesson about the true meaning of family. It's not about control or domination, but about love and mutual respect. Anna continued her treatment. The doctors say her recovery will be long, but she is making progress. She is no longer the manipulative woman I knew, but neither is she a victim. She's just a person trying to heal. It's been 2 years since I left the Morales house behind. My new home is smaller, but every corner reflects who I really am. Last week I received a letter from Anna. She's still in treatment, although it's outpatient now. She wrote to apologize not only for what she did to me, but for the damage she caused to so many people. Her words seemed sincere, but I've learned to keep a healthy distance. The support group we formed is still active. Some women divorced, others reconciled their marriages. But we all found our voice. The last time we met, the wife of one of the cousins commented, "It's incredible how a real estate sale ended up freeing us all." Miguel moved to another city too. I heard he's dating someone, a psychologist he met during visits to his sister. I'm happy for him. Sometimes people need to lose themselves to find themselves. The house was turned into a successful boutique hotel. I sometimes pass by it and barely recognize it with its new modern facade and renovated garden. It's funny how places that seem so important to us can transform into simple memories. My mother-in-law calls me from time to time. Our relationship has healed in unexpected ways. "Thank you," she said to me in our last conversation, "for having the courage to break the cycle." As for me, I've learned that true family isn't defined by last names or titles. It's built with respect, honesty, and healthy boundaries. Sometimes losing what we think is our home is necessary to find where we truly belong. The other night, having dinner with a friend, she asked me if I regretted anything. I took a moment before answering. I don't regret selling the house. I regret taking so long to realize my own worth.